Hi everybody, this is sjsrana, Surendrajit Singh Rana reporting on July 28th, 2021, time about 13:12 hours UTC. We're going to continue from yesterday episode which we discussed Olympics, global geopolitical ball games, the visit of US State Secretary to India, and the dialogue between Biden and Putin, which was supposed to take place, and also the outcome of China US high level meeting. So quickly jumping on to the Olympics. This time we are seeing quite different results because Japan is leading from the gold medal tally. However, the Japan is having 21 medals for July 28, 2021 on the Tokyo Olympics. We do see some different results every day, but as I've been predicting for last 4 weeks, 3 weeks, that we will see these three nations switching between top ranking. But I do see US as the top earner for the medals for the Olympics Tokyo, then followed by China and Japan. And ROC is the committee of Russia, basically. 335 athletes which are covered under this Russian Olympic Committee. They represent the athletic sportsmanship because Russia has been temporarily banned for 3-4 years, and I think by 2022 they will review the ban and perhaps may allow Russia back to Olympics. So these athletes are representing Russia, but not from directly as a nation, but they are seeing as ROC. So you always see ROC as number 4 ranking or 5th ranking. I think ROC will remain as 4 or 5th ranking, but we will see the difference with UK. So UK may gain position ahead of time. So folks, this is where the Olympics are getting more interesting now because every day there are different results which are changing the ranking. But we will see those nations which are predicting for last 3 or 4 weeks, which is USA, China, Japan, UK, ROC, Germany, France, Italy. So these nations will be top earners, and UK asking about India. India is having 1.4 billion population. How is it going to fare up? Well, I don't know. Perhaps I have already told that India will not come even top 10 or top 20 nations in Olympics. I think somewhere down the line, 25, 35, around that number. The reason being, they are very good at playing the metaphor games. So perhaps India is thinking that it's better to have metaphor games, Olympics, than to basically have some practical Olympics results. And also there's another bizarre thing is India is a yoga teacher for the whole world. Remember International Yoga Day, which they celebrate with the whole world. And they say we have given it to the world. So this yoga doesn't help the athletic spiritmanship. I don't know what this yoga is helping, who it is helping. But anyways, India right now stands at 42nd position. On July 27th, at least it was in 37 ranking. Now it's in 42nd ranking of Olympics. So God knows. This is how India is performing with 1.4 billion population asking India government, what's going on with the people? What are they performing if they're not performing Olympics? Anyways, quickly jumping on to the India rape saga and sexual assault saga. This has been covered recently by this new documentary known as the India's Rape Scandal, and it reviews the horrific rapes of India, how minor girls are being raped day and night. Massive minor girls are delivering baby in India, age of 12 years old, 13 years old, 14-year-olds. So the massive sexual predators population of India are targeting this 10 plus years old girl. Yes, it's a very normal thing in India. I mean, people know it. Everybody knows it. These sexual predators population across the city, also being promoted by India Humans Trafficking Empire agents, which are spread across in India in millions. They are doing all this horrendous crime every day. And people know it. India females know about it. They don't speak it because they think it's patriotic if they speak on rape, if they speak on massive sexual predators of India. So they think it's not patriotic. So I don't know what's wrong with them. There are 666 million people Every now and then you'll hear the most horrific crimes of sexual assault, sexual battery in India, especially 10 years old girl, 12 years old girl, mostly of them. And they keep suiciding day and night, and or they're delivering babies. So with all this going on, why you will ask, like, why 666 million females of India don't ever mass protest? Well, that's a question even I'm asking. To my understanding, some of their family members who are very close to them are also sexual predators. So these female keep quiet that, okay, anyways, we know that family member or this family member is a top sexual predator. So they know, okay, let it go. Why we protest? Because someone will say that your family person is also a sexual predator. It's known in the town. So perhaps that's the problem. So, but anyways, this horrendous, horrific crimes of India has become the nightmare for minor girls of India. It's become a horror story for India. And I don't know what the leadership is doing. There is an anti-trafficking bill in the parliament, and there's a dilly-dally. I don't know why it's not getting approved on the expedited manner, whereas these shockers keep coming. Well, they don't shake the souls of India leadership, perhaps. They're only shaking the souls of females of India and perhaps those victims and survivors of India. So this is a very, very sorry figure, very dismal performance of the India leadership that they can contain this contagion. It's like a pandemic. India may be over with the COVID pandemic, but I don't think it is even ready to have any vaccination against these rape scandals, or you can say sexual battery, or growing human trafficking empire, or massive amount of sexual predators population of India. And you see the ages, right from 2 years old to 65, 70 years old. Yes, they're attacking all these range of female. The sexual predators population of India don't care whether it's a person on ventilator in hospital, whether it's a 2 years old baby, whether it's about 65 years old senior citizen who can't even walk, can't even talk. They don't care. All they know is they need something in female, and they don't care the age. And this is so outrageous, horrendous, and horrific crime of humanity that India government never talks about it. They are lip silent, and anybody tries to expose, they try to silence them with supplying more girls with the nexus. This is the story here, because this is a social evil. It won't go away unless people start revolting. And this is where the whole world is asking, why 666 plus million females never mass protest. You see mass protest of female in Mexico, you see in Argentina, you see in US, you see in Australia, you see in UK, you see everywhere, but you will never find 666 plus million females of India ever mass protesting on this daily horrendous, horrific sexual battery on minor girls, especially 2 years old, 3 years old. And this is a documentary which must be viewed by every female. In fact, everyone should view it. Even I do view it. So, because I feel for the cause, because minor girls are suffering, they don't have a voice. They won't speak by themselves, and we are their voice. If we start speaking for them, then they will know that the world is a safer place. Anyways, guys, quickly moving on to the sun. As I've been telling, sun solar cycle 25 is ready. Here we see the full phase, and we also see bizarre CMEs. You can see flares many times. I've been noticing practically all the sunspots, all the different CMEs, all the flares, and I do tell, as I've been predicting for last 5 6 months, that sun is going to do bizarre phenomena now. It's ready to deliver massive blowout from 14 megahertz to about 40 megahertz. Be ready. All the blackouts are coming. And these are going to be a regular phenomena now. Also, we know there's a thing which I'm going to talk about, pole flip, or the switching of the poles, magnetic poles, and I'm going to say and describe and detail how it's going to be in confluence with the sun magnetic fields. And I'm studying these magnetic fields and the auras very, very deeply. And I do see anomalies, I do see a lot of patterns developing. And I just keep telling that this is something where the climate crisis of Earth is also impacting. And all these things joined together, we have a very, very grim scenario for the whole world. especially the climate crisis, the rising temperature all across the earth. We better be prepared regarding it. Okay, now quickly jumping on the global geopolitical ball games. We already know, which I've been covering, the China-US second high-level meeting, and this has been turned into a stalemate. There has been no conclusive outcome, but I do see news from here and there where I can understand that there is some development that which is coming up. So let's hear this clip. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is talking about the same event.
As Secretary, I am committed to pursuing a constructive, stable relationship with China, including stronger crisis communications with the People's Liberation Army. You know, big powers need to model transparency and communication. And so we hope that we can work together with Beijing on common challenges, especially the threat of climate change. Beijing's claim to the vast majority of the South China Sea has no basis in international law. That assertion treads on the sovereignty of the states in the region. We continue to support the region's coastal states in upholding their rights under international law. Unfortunately, Beijing's unwillingness to resolve disputes peacefully and respect the rule of law isn't just occurring on the water. We've also seen aggression against India, destabilizing military activity and other forms of coercion against the people of Taiwan, and genocide and crimes against humanity against Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. And meanwhile, we're working with Taiwan to enhance its own capabilities and to increase its readiness to deter threats and coercion, upholding our commitments under the Taiwan Relations Act and consistent with our One China policy.
So South China Morning Post has provided this clip on ICBM topic of China, where US is getting pressured by the amount of soilers being built and the bases, nuclear bases. Recently, in the Drive outpost, they have presented this detailed article where they're trying to lay out the whole groundwork and plan of China, having almost about 300 silos which are being recently built and 240 silos already there. So these two sites of nuclear bases where they're going to have DF5, which is a liquid fuel DF5 missile, which is quite effective, they are already in silos. Obviously, the concern raised by US is how they're going to counterbalance in case if they ever have to face a war with China. Well, I think this topic of global ball games, or you can say multipolar world, has to be digested by US now, because now the world is not unipolar anymore, it's multipolar. We see Russia is already a player since Cold War era, but China is now also a player, because I've been predicting, and as I've been telling, China is a superpower. So these issues are being raised, but they don't carry any real value, because every nation is supposed to progress. Just like US is having huge amount of arsenal of nuclear weapons, Russia is having, together Russia and US are having almost 85-86% of total world's nuclear arsenal. So if China is building up some 5 or 7 or 10%, it should not surprise anyone, because China right now, per statistics given to us, is holding about 500-600 nuclear missiles. India is having almost about 150 nuclear missiles, whereas Pakistan is almost 200 nuclear missiles. And Israel also has nuclear missiles, which is under covert agenda, and it's been not disclosed. Well, now talking of these nuclear missiles and how they're going to have this confidence building effort. So I think Biden and President Putin is meeting in Geneva, and in Geneva they're going to talk and lay out plans, because this much amount of nuclear missile by these two nations, Russia and China, if they ever go to a war, it's going to be a nuclear outcome and a nuclear holocaust for the whole world. So this meeting is very phenomenal. I hope President Biden from the US reflects the true peacemaker deals with Russia because Russia is not posing a threat, but of course NATO is being on the borderline of Russia, you can say enemy at the gates, which President Putin and Russia feels that they have to defend, they have to come up with scopes and strategies to work the way around. Because NATO alliance nations are too many compared to Russia alone. Russia is just one nation. Imagine about 13, 12 hardcore NATO nations which can work under the nuclear command force, global nuclear task force, or theater conflict. So these things are quite concerning to Russia, obviously. Now China is adding up a new ball game, and this is being perceived as another threat by US, and that simply doesn't resolve anything. Already India is engaged in a conflict mode with China. So if all these global players start going together with some nuclear posturing, then I think it's quite evident that we may face very grim scenario and the ultimate eventuality, inevitable, a nuclear holocaust for the whole world. So folks, this is something where I want to alert, because I already see China and India going for a nuclear war, as India is relentless on Tibet regions, which still happens to be with India per China claims. So this is going nowhere
Joe
because
Biden has
all these
warned
things
the
are
cyber war with
escalating.
Russia could turn into
Let's
an
hear
actual
this clip.
military conflict. The US president addressed members of the US intelligence community, highlighting threats from multiple nations.
President Biden taking time to meet with members of the intelligence community who have their hands full assessing a range of threats.
I can't make the decisions I need to make if I'm not getting the best unvarnished, unbiased judgments you can give me. But I think it's more likely we're going to end up, if we end up in a war, a real shooting war with a major power, it's going to be as a consequence of a cyber breach.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas raising the growing risks of ransomware, telling Congress during a briefing earlier in the day of a
300% increase in ransomware attacks over last year. We've seen more than $300 million in losses.
The dangers aren't only abroad, with Mayorkas warning of terror plots from people right here at home.
What we see is an increasing amount of social media traffic that is based on ideologies of hate and extremism.
All of this happening as the intelligence community digs into the origins of COVID-19. In May, the president asked them to redouble their efforts, giving them 90 days to complete the task. China has been less than cooperative with investigators.
Okay, we already know Mr. Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of the State, is already visiting India, and it's raising concern for Afghanistan and China. Obviously, the defense deals are on the table, but I think Mr. Antony Blinken is raising the concern with India counterparts that how come the RUSSIA S400 is being imported while US Patriot missile system is not being imported by India, while India being a pseudo-NATO member, because it is a member of COMCASA, SPAAC agreements, and especially the defense STA1 clearance. It's a big deal to have a STA1 clearance. It becomes almost like a proxy NATO nation. So already this high-level meetings are going between India and US, and they're forging new relationship with the nuclear missile theater defense and theater conflict, and how Indo-Pacific, Indo-US stability or Indo-US defense deals are going to work out. That's how they are trying to play it. Now, obviously, Mr. Blinken may also raise the issues with Mr. Modi, PM of India, that how it's going to deal with the tactics of China threat, which is being laid out under the Quad relationship. And this is all going to play a different ball game, because they want to also entangle Australia into this ball game, whereas Australia is already trying to stay away. However, UK is being actively trying to pursue the matters with China, South China Sea. So how it's going to pan out, we will see in coming 2 or 3 months. So let's hope and see. This visit by State Secretary of US is a good for India democracy, because they are also warning on the India human rights abuses and much more. And they're trying to raise this issue of a democratic principle which should be followed by all democratic nations. Because see, the high values carried by the US on human rights, on delivering the justice should align with all other key partners. So it cannot have a divergence if it wants to be a NATO member. So India is basically on, you can say, on a dicey between the roads, trying to figure out whether it should align more with Russia or it should align more with the US. So far, there is no clear indication except the deals, agreements, SPAAC, COMCASA, STA1 signed with the US. Also, as we have been discussing, I have been raising this issue that human rights violations and abuses are being observed within India by the US watchdog, human rights watchdog. Recently, Amnesty International was shunted out of India, thrown out of India. Is another concern. How come India is just self-indoctrinating the things of human rights, whereas the global human rights view. Moving on quickly to the fact that whatever is going in the globe right now is going to become more and more and more complicated and complex, because the amount of pressure from all sides. If you see pandemic for last 1.5 years, pandemic has already left the whole world juggling for some mental health recovery, apart from those who are suffering from serious COVID-19 infections. So you see that part. From the human standpoint, you see how the climate crisis is developing. Then you see this geopolitical ball game, and then you see these human rights issues. So all in all, this is becoming quite a chaotic or complex natured earth. Moving on to the concerns raised by China, as India is building rail networks in the region which are proximity to China and on disputed territories, is also a big concern now. As I've told you folks, and I've written it many times on my oneworldpress.wordpress.com, also I've alerted on my YouTube channels, that this escalation may soon end up in a nuclear war between India and China, involving maybe one or two more nations like Pakistan, like Japan may get involved. So who knows, but this is going to be a real issue. Quickly moving on to the world financial health, we see IMF recently cuts FY22 GDP forecast to 9.5 from 12.5. Well, they are just announcing all these things for maybe a month or so. The real GDP for India is sub 9%, perhaps about 8% or 7.5% is the real GDP for India FY22. I've been predicting and telling this for last 7-8 months. If you check my videos, check my articles, I've already written that India GDP is not more than 7.5% or 8% at the most for FY22. So this is on the backdrop of COVID-19 pandemic, disaster in India, and slow recovery, slow growth, and slow industrial output as seen as the progress of India. Quickly moving on to its neighboring nation, Pakistan IMF has raised its GDP to 3.9 from earlier predicted to 1.5 GDP, which is quite a good number compared to India, which has come down from 12.5 to 9.5%. So these are neighboring nations. And if you compare China, China is already forging ahead. It's having 9%, 8.5% GDP growth. So we will see China in this Asia region progressing very well overall. However, the IMF from time to time keep updating these GDP figures, so we can hope to see more news and more information down the line. So hopefully the world recovers from COVID-19. Every nation is going to strive hard now to come up with the GDP figures or to come up with some rescue plan for those businesses who are affected. You check at Australia, how the businesses are getting impacted. So okay folks, I saw enough and I leave you with some good information. YouTube channels, and you can basically take a look, keep reviewing my daily updates and videos I keep posting time to time. You can reach me on my YouTube at which is sjsrana, or you can check on my Facebook fb.com/sjsrana555. Okay folks, I leave you with this beautiful clip This is being played as bolero by beautiful composition. Let's take a listen.